Sometimes being a maker means making the best of an opportunity. And that was certainly the case when I found this PowerShot G7X Mark II on eBay. I picked this up on eBay recently for a really good deal. It was advertised as not working for parts. The issue was that while it still took photos and video, there was no display on the back. I asked the seller a few more questions and got the sense that this was probably something that I could fix and order the camera. When it showed up, I hooked it up to my field monitor with an HDMI cable and found that the camera worked fine. Another sign that led me to believe that I might be able to fix this myself was that when I tapped the screen, I got a confirmation beep that I was changing the focus point. So that led me to believe that it was just the screen that needed to be replaced. It was very easy to source a replacement screen for this camera. It was under $100 Canadian and it was shipped to my door within a couple of weeks. This is actually a really easy repair to do as well. There are like 6 screws to remove, a couple of ribbon cables, and some double-sided adhesive. So if you have one of these cameras or can get one with this issue, this is well worth doing. It's a fairly simple project. So let's head down to the workshop and I'll show you how I did this. Now this is a pretty quick and easy repair to make. You're not going to need much here other than a precision screwdriver, your camera, and of course your replacement screen. You're also going to need some kind of heat source like a heat gun, hair dryer, something to soften up the adhesive that holds the screen in place, and it's nice to have a set of precision tweezers for work like this. Now with the battery removed, we can flip the screen to the open position and start by removing these 3 screws here. Then we're going to move on to the 3 screws at the bottom of the screen. They're also very easy to remove, and once that's done, the entire assembly will pop open like this, and you can start removing these ribbon cables. Now you can try to use your fingernail like I do here, but it's a lot easier to do with a pair of tweezers. Once the ribbon cables are removed, you should be able to pop the screen out of the frame, and here you can see I've got the complete assembly in my hand. Now there's a little circuit board on the back there, this driver board. We're going to have to remove 1 more ribbon cable from that. And then we're going to have to remove it from the back of the screen. It's just held in place with some double-sided tape. Everything's held together with double-sided tape now. Just gonna have to get used to that. Once all the screws and ribbon cables are removed, you're gonna need to apply heat here to soften the double-sided adhesive that's holding the screen into the plastic frame. I've got this little hot air heat gun here, which is handy for projects like this because it's not too big and doesn't get too hot. Just be careful you don't overheat the plastic and warp it or burn your fingers. Now, don't try to reuse this double-sided adhesive that came stock on the camera. It's difficult to get off there, and you're not going to get a good seal. What you really need here is some replacement double-sided tape. Now, what I ended up going with was some Duck brand double-sided tape. I've used this before. I know that it's non-yellowing, it has no acid in it, it's supposedly archival, and it's very strong. It was the thinnest stuff I had on hand as well, which worked. Now at this stage, I applied the double-sided tape around the outside rim of my screen. I don't have any footage of that. Leave the protective cover on that, just like we left the protective cover on the screen. Otherwise, you're going to be sticking it to your fingers and everything else. We want to keep this as clean as we can. There was enough double-sided adhesive stuck to the back of the driver board that I was able to stick it in place on the new LCD screen and then start test fitting this together. Make very sure that you have this oriented the right way before you start putting it together. It would be very easy to make a mistake and end up with your screen upside down. Once we've got everything sorted out, we'll peel the backing off our double-sided tape and start putting this thing together. But first, we're going to give everything a really good cleaning with some 99% isopropyl alcohol, just to make sure there's no fingerprints or grease or anything on there that's going to interfere with the fit of this screen. Once we've got it in place, I'm going to push it down firmly all the way around to make sure that that tape seals. Once we get to this stage, reassembly is very easy. We're just going to thread this ribbon cable through, snap it back in place, put this inner frame in place, and then we can start putting the screws back in. And now for the moment of truth, we put the battery back in, turn it on, and we have a working camera. Everything here works exactly as we expected it to. The touchscreen is responsive. It looks good. I'm really glad I left the protective film on the screen this entire time. I'm very pleased with this. It, was very inexpensive and cost me like a half hour of my time. One thing I did order that I didn't show earlier in the video was a screen protector for this thing. I just thought after all of this effort, it would make good sense to put one on there. Just good policy. So I hope you found that helpful, and I hope that that put a few Canon PowerShots back in action. Questions, comments, concerns, be sure to hit me up in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and until next time, keep making.